Good afternoon, Professor Taylor. We speak to you, student Bruslana Mejia. In this opportunity, I'll talk about for the activities of the laboratory number 1 and 2. In the first laboratory, the recognition was made for the upcoming programming for an oscilloscope, which will serve to interpret the signals provided by generator functions. Well, and so that variables involved in the project will be analyzed. According to that, which be done is what observed to the working process on the oscilloscope is based on the visualization of the variation of the electrical voltage with respect to certain time. With respect to time, the operation of this equipment starts with the application of a certain voltage signal to the input terminal. Once it's done, the graphical representation of the voltage value applied on a function for a time we observe it on the screen. In order to turn the properties assigned for the silicon would necessarily use the proofs, which are connected to the BNC connectors. The clamp is connected to the ground, while the trailing connector goes to the point of the conductor where the voltage is to display it. The proverb is selected with a position for 1 and for 10. In the position for 10, the amplitude of the signal is divided by a factor of 10. The results of this practice, we have a variable. These variables have a relation in the relation in these variables have a relation. The relation is in the from the results is because the frequency was varying decreasing, where the wavelength we also increasing. This checked with the calculation made to determine into the numerical value of this magnitude. Well, these magnitudes are inversely proportional magnitudes. Okay, the the frequency and the wavelength are inversely proportional magnitudes. Okay, according to the practice. Well, the finally the last variable will also inversely proportional to the amplitude, which will lead to determinant that the longer the wavelength, the lower the amplitude of the wavelength. Finally, the last relationship obtained is between the period and the frequency. Both magnitudes maintain an inversely proportional relationship, which means that the higher the frequency of the wave, the shorter the time between two equivalent points of the wave. Okay. Recognition of the RAP test board. Well, the system board have made five main components: the sub-carrier antenna, the carrier antenna on the working range 108 and 157 17 1995 megahertz. Identifier: this element provides the signal in Morse code, the variable signal, and the reference signal. With regard to the recognition of the main controls we have of the RAM set, we have the monitor meter function is RF that basically uses to verify the correct leveling of the internal signal in the monitor meter. And number two, the counter mode is necessary to able read the frequency of the function generator when operating in fixed or variable mode. Next is the power button switch. This switch is basically used to choose the power mode of the equipment, either by means of the internal battery, that is by means of the external AC power source track the connector power. The frequency mode switch. This switch has two of operation, and one mode of them half of them is the board fixed, which water with one frequency, while the second mode is the board bar, which was the vary value of the frequency, and thus the operation of the board can be verified all the channels. Finally, the tone select switch. The means of the switch identification tone is selected, being in the case 2020 400 2300 or 3000 Hertz. Finally, the crystal height of low switch. This switch operates when the frequency mode is above fixed position. Will be a crystal. The switch but moves to crystal types of the crystal frequency, a high frequency. For RF output of the 112.8 MHz and low frequency for 108 MHz RF output. Well, with respect to the use of the manuals, okay, the familiarization with the manuals is on the aircraft with which is a procedure. A revision was made for the general index of design, which appears with the denomination FM. Well, we have the FM here. FM. We here. Well, in this part we have the model, the code, F code, effectivity code, block number, serial line, and registry of the aircraft. Okay. The importance, according to the analysis of this information, the most important data of the aircraft are encoded the effectiveness of the aircraft and the register of the what the register and the effective code. Okay. The importance of the code effectiveness of the aircraft effectively lies in the fact that none of the procedure and components to be changed that are applicable to the aircraft are identified, of those no mistakes are made in the maintenance operation. For other hand, the registration code of the aircraft is an alphanumeric series of characters similar to a license plate of the car. In accordance with the Convention on International Civil Aviation, or OASI, this registration allows the aircraft to be identified at all times. The first part of the registration prefix indicates country of membership, and the first country has the prefix signed by Agreement International, and the last suffix is the identify of the plane. It should be mentioned that information with detail in the report. I will detail the registry, the mode, and effectivity codes in some airplanes realized in the practice of the laboratory. Well, and the next part of the laboratory will base in the shares and procedures for carry out maintenance process to different components for aircraft. Okay, which must required to change the component for this manual called EPC. Well, in the manual IPC we have a components and the part numbers of this, and the effectivity code of the airplane. Well, and in final conclusion, it is generally concluded to that recognition of this equipment to be used is a maintenance process essential, as it will facilitate its use in the future activities involved into the system study. On the other hand, mathematical relationships were determined in the variable involved in the operation process of an oscilloscope and generator functions. Usually performing this part of the laboratory practice, it was also concluded that the frequency of the wave and length are inversely magnitude proportional. So also the wavelength is inversely proportional to the amplitude. The relation occurs between the period and the frequency, but the magnitude is inversely proportional. And with regard to the use maintenance manual, it's concluded that the results obtained were mostly optimal, except for some exception that required a great investment of time in items in terms of their search. In these different manuals provided. Adding to this, the correct review of an analysis of content found on this document signs this is essential when performing any type of work. It is all for this video. Thanks for listening.